Hi, it's Look Movie Recaps here. Today I'm going to explain a science fiction action film called John Carter. Watch out and take care. The movie starts on an unknown planet called Barsoom. The planet consists of three major kingdoms called the Helium, the Zidanga, and the Tharks. Helium and Zidanga have been at war for centuries. At the beginning of the movie, we observe the battle between the Red Cape Army of Zidanga and the Blue Cape Army of Helium. The general of Zidanga named Sabthan is approached by three men who claim to be messengers of God, called Thurn. The Thurn's leader, Matai Shang, gives him a mysterious blue weapon and tells him that he has been chosen by the goddess to receive it. The Thurns have decided to help Zidanga in the war. They possess control over a mysterious blue light called the Ninth Ray, which makes them stronger than other living creatures on Barsoom. The scene cuts to New York City in 1881. A man named Edgar is summoned by his uncle named John Carter to New York City. When Edgar drops at the station, he is greeted by John's butler, who takes him to John's estate. As it turns out, John is a wealthy man and a former Confederate Army captain. John's lawyer sadly informs Edgar of John's sudden death. John has left all of his numerous wealth to Edgar. The lawyer then takes a surprised Edgar to John's tomb, where his body is being preserved. But strangely, the tomb's door only opens from the inside. Later, the attorney gives Edgar John's private journal, which John had intended only for Edgar to read. When the lawyer leaves, he begins reading it. It opens by noting that when Edgar was younger, he was the only person who believed in John's crazy claims, therefore it feels only fitting to tell Edgar this story. After the American Civil War, the narrative begins in Arizona. Former Confederate Army Captain John Carter currently explores caves in search of treasure. Powell is a Union colonel who wants John to help his U.S. cavalry soldiers against the Apache. So, he abducts him and tries drafting him as a soldier. However, John doesn't want to fight as a soldier anymore. After several failed attempts of running away, he defeats a guard and steals the colonel's horse to make his getaway. The colonel and his men pursue him. Not far away, they come across a mounted Apache war crew. The colonel and the men get into a shootout with the people. In the middle of the turmoil, John tries to flee, but the colonel is hurt in the struggle. Out of sympathy, he assists the colonel and leads him close to a cave. The cave is new to John as he has never come here to search for gold. He goes inside, lights a match, and is beyond surprised to see lots of gold embedded on the roof of the cave. However, just then, a man behind him appears out of nowhere. The man is one of the Thurns we saw in the beginning of the movie. The colonel alerts John, who gets into a fight with the strange man. He shoots the man, making him fall to the ground. When John goes near him, he hears the man say Barsoom while looking at a strange medallion in his hands. John picks up the medallion and repeats the word, Barsoom. Suddenly, a bright blue light flashes out of the locket. John regains consciousness and finds himself in an unfamiliar wilderness. He stands up and starts to walk, but stumbles in every movement. It seems as though he can float in mid-air. Confused, he practices walking in the new environment. As he walks, he reaches a hill nearby where he sees several eggs hatching. Just then, a large group of green creatures with 6 limbs appear riding on massive animals. The leader attacks him, making John take a huge jump. The rest start firing at John, but stop when their leader asks them to. The creature speaks in a different language and introduces himself as Tharks. John introduces himself as John Carter from Virginia, but the creatures decipher that his name is Virginia. Tharks asks John to jump as he did before, but he denies and attacks him. The creatures injure John and hold him hostage. As they talk, we get to know that their kind is called Tharks. Elsewhere on the same planet, the princess of the city of Helium, Deja, practices presenting a weapon she has designed to her father, the king of Helium. Helium is at war with another city called the Zidanga and is about to lose because of Thurns being on Zidanga's side. Deja has figured out the secret of the Ninth Ray used by the Zidanga to fight the war. But a man out of nowhere causes a malfunction, leading it to explode as she displays her weapon to the king. The king of Zidanga, Sabthan, wants to marry Deja for the war to end, but she is extremely against it. If Sabthan marries her, he will be the prince of Helium and will have the power to rule all of Barsoom. Meanwhile, the Tharks take John to their city and put him with the newly born infants. At night, a female Thark named Sola feeds John a liquid, after which he can understand the language of Tharks. The following day, the Tharks order John to jump high in front of everyone. John notices that the medallion is with Tharks and without it, he cannot go back home. Just then, 2 battleships appear in the sky. The Helium and the Zidanga are battling each other. The war is entertainment to the Tharks who bet on who will win. We see Princess Deja fighting in the ships. While attempting to navigate the ship, she unintentionally falls overboard. John saves the princess with the help of his heightened jumping abilities. The Tharks start cheering for John, who is now fighting the Zidanga soldiers along with Deja. John manages to change the course of the fight, making Helium win, but their ship crashes as well. Deja and John are with the Tharks. Tharks is impressed by John's abilities and makes him his right-hand man. John is reluctant to the idea, but doesn't disagree. At night, Deja and John talk, and John learns from Deja that they are on Mars, also known as Barsoom in their native tongue. John is surprised and doesn't think she's real. He reveals to her that he is from Earth. Deja too finds it hard to believe. Because of his thicker bone density and the planet's low gravity, Carter has incredible strength and can jump high. Deja then takes him to the Tharks temple, where no humans are allowed to go. She hopes that the temple will include a mechanism for people to learn how to travel through other realms like John did. The kind female Thark, Sola, goes behind them begging them to stop. Deja shows John the statue of the goddess Isis, and reads some markings engraved in it. However, the three of them are soon arrested by the Tharks and sentenced to death for entering the temple. Tharks asks everyone to leave him alone with the prisoners in the cell in order to cut John's hands off. When they are alone, he reveals that he is Sola's father and doesn't want them to die at the hands of the Tharks. He hands John his medallion and asks him to go to River ISS to solve the mystery of the goddess Isis and get back to his world. When the Tharks look into the room after some time, they see that Tharks has betrayed them. Tharks' enemy, Tal Hajus, takes charge and declares himself the new leader. Then we see John, Deja, and Sola heading to River ISS. Sola informs John that although Deja is leading the way, she is actually guiding them past the river and toward the city of Helium. When John confronts her about it, she admits that she was transporting him to her city so that she could use him as a soldier in the ongoing war. Disappointed, John asks Sola to lead the way and leaves the princess there. Deja insists that she only did it because she doesn't want to marry Sabdan. She is invited to go with him to the river. There being no other option, she consents. The three arrive at a large pyramid that is upside down after sailing across the ISS river. When John and Deja climb it, they notice a weird blue energy gathering on the surface. Deja realizes that this is the power of the ninth ray that she had made her weapon from. He also used it to travel himself from Earth to Mars. Just then, an army of Warhoons approaches, led by Matai Shang, the leader of the Tharks. John bravely tells Deja and Sola to run away and fights the army of Warhoons himself. When John defeats the Warhoons with the help of the army sent by the King of Helium, he is saved. As he is hurt, they transport him to Helium. Once in her house, Deja meets her father. She is surprised to see the King of Zidanga, Sabdan, there. He has come with no weapon and soldiers to ask Deja to marry him and end the war. Deja doesn't have any other way to stop the war, so she reluctantly agrees to marry him. In the following scene, we see John resting in a chamber in Helium Palace. A soldier appointed by Deja fetches him and secretly takes him to her chamber. Deja asks John to go back to his home using the medallion. When the guards enter her chamber, John disappears. Deja thinks that he went back to Earth, but John is actually hiding from the soldiers. When they leave, he tries going outside but is soon caught by Matai Shang. John is surprised by Matai Shang's ability to change into any creature around him. The whole city is preparing for the wedding of Sabdan and Deja. Matai Shang binds John to himself with the help of a technology developed by the ninth ray. John is unable to move his body to his will. Matai Shang seems to be controlling him with his wrist device. Matai Shang then reveals to him that Sabdan is planning to kill Deja and invade Helium after the marriage. The Thurn took his side in the war because Sabdan was the easiest to manipulate. But Matai Shang's real aim is to rule all of Barsoom through Sabdan. Matai Shang is about to kill John, when an alien dog John had befriended earlier, comes to his rescue. It bites off Matai Shang's wrist device, letting John free. He hurries to a flying craft and flies away to stop Deja from marrying Sabdan. However, John doesn't know how to control the aircraft and crash lands near the Tharks territory. They hold him captive. Tal Hajus, who is now the leader of the Tharks, puts John and Tharks with massive beasts called the White Apes. John somehow manages to capture the apes in front of the whole Thark population. He then invites Tal Hajus to fight him and defeats him in one go. Everyone cheers for John, who is now the new leader of the Tharks. He then persuades them to help him fight the Zidanga. The army of Tharks and John make their way to Deja and Sabdan's wedding ceremony. John reaches there just in time to stop the wedding. Seeing him, Sabdan tries to kill Deja, but John stops him just in time. A war between the soldiers of the two cities erupts again. However, the Tharks are on the side of Helium now. The Zidanga soon loses, but Matai Shang manages to escape with John's medallion. John plans to live on Mars as Deja's husband, so he doesn't bother to look for the medallion. He and Deja get married and the crowd cheers for them. He is now the Prince of Helium. The following morning, John and Deja are on a balcony. Deja leaves John outside and goes into the room, when Matai Shang appears. John tries to fight him, but he manages to use the medallion to send John back to Earth. When John wakes up, he is covered in dust and his beard has grown long. He is in the same cave, and looks towards Colonel Powell to see his remains, suggesting that a long time has passed on the Earth while he was on Mars. He looks around for a medallion but doesn't find it. He has no way to go back. The gold embedded in the cave makes him wealthy. He knows that there are more medallions on Earth. He starts a mining corporation and searches for the medallion for the next 10 years. Until one day, he finds one on a site. John is delighted, but he knows that the Tharks have been keeping an eye on him all this time. His body on Earth must be protected when he goes to Mars, because any harm on it will cause him to die on both planets. Because of this, the tomb may only be entered from the inside. He had planned his demise so that he could go back to Mars. John wants Edgar to guard his tomb and the diary entry from the Tharks in turn of the wealth. Edgar is in shock after reading the diary. He goes out to the tomb and tries opening it. He was the key. As the doors to the tomb open, a Thark approaches Edgar. He had been spying on Edgar, waiting to kill John. However, before he can harm Edgar, someone from behind knocks him out. Edgar is beyond surprised to see his uncle in front of him. John takes the Tharks medallion. As it turns out, he had never found the medallion. All this, including his death, was fake to attract a Thark and acquire his medallion. John then asks Edgar to protect his tomb from now onwards and goes inside it. He lies on the bed with the medallion and says the chantings that will take him back to Mars again. The film ends. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.